That wasn't the doozy. How could that not be the doozy?
Coming in, that's confirmed reports. I repeat, we have confirmed reports of failed assassinations in Philadelphia and St. Hampton. Dear Celestia.
That was BlooBoi with Grave Fission. Hey there friends, I'm Storybook and welcome back to a nuclear reading show. Today, we're continuing Somber's Fallout Equestria Project Horizons. If you're enjoying what I'm bringing to the Wasteland, don't be afraid to tell your friends about me, or find me on Blue Sky as Nuclear Yuki. You could also do us a great favour and check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/ANRS. This story does include some graphic scenes that may be distressing to some people. Your own discretion in listening is advised. Oh, and also, since the gangs are still being feisty, Fallout is owned by Bethesda, and Hasbro made My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. With all that said and done, welcome, friends, to the Wasteland. Chapter 15. Flank. Once upon a time, when I was just a filly, my flank was blank, and then one day it wasn't anymore. Rivets had inherited a deck of cards from her mother, and we were playing Blackjack, the only card game my feeble math skills could handle. Rivets, Daisy, Marmalade, Hatchers and I were sitting around a table in a storeroom, drinking synthetic apple juice and betting impossible sums with nuts, bolts, screws, and the occasional actual old bit. We were having a great time. Then, Hatchers had to go. The door of the storeroom was like most, a pair of metal plates slid up and down by an electric motor connected to a button. She had pressed that and then started through. There had been a short, and the door had closed on her. The large, heavy slab falling from above, and the smaller sheet being pushed up from below, with her body in the middle. A horrible snapping sound, then the mechanism had caught and the door opened again. Over in a second. We'd just watched, stunned, as she kept walking on shaking limbs. She'd reached the stairs before she crumpled and died 2 minutes later. We still just watched, too shocked to even move. Did I mention that we only started calling her Hatchers after she was crushed? I couldn't even remember her real name. I wished I could remember her name, because now I knew exactly how she felt walking down that long metal tunnel. My heart continued its rapid staccato as every step made my organs feel as if they were sloshing around inside of me. Only the buck kept me walking, and we'd run out of steady. I was forced to walk between Glory and the curious Reaper that had saved our lives.
I need a fixer. Why can't I have a fixer again?
I asked as I slumped against Rampage's polished metal armor. The articulated plates shifted under my thrashed barding.
Fixer is not a cure. Fixer is an even worse drug than most of what you've been swallowing while my back was turned.
Glory was decidedly snippy and had retracted her previous statement about my intelligence. Instead of lecturing me about how I'd screwed up so badly, she had decided to try and fix the problem by educating me about it.
Fixer is psychoactive, like Dash or Mentals. It doesn't do anything for your actual symptoms, but make them ignorable. You've been trotting around with your heart rate at over 100 beats a minute when you should have been lying down, trying to just metabolize the chemicals and recover. Besides, you ate the last tablet an hour ago,
Rampage added with an amused snicker. In the few hours we'd been travelling together, I'd learned little from the strange pony with shining armour, who was still smeared with darkening gore. Her hoof claws tapped the asphalt with a persistent metallic beat as we walked. I had, though, been able to see that her armour wasn't part of her body or something, like Deus. It was just a really good metal, and the pony under its bulk seemed not much larger than me. I'd almost noticed that the few bits of coat the armor left exposed bore strange bright red markings in a pattern that looked almost like zebra stripes. She also ate mentals like clockwork, taking out the white tablets and popping them in her mouth one by one. But did Glory give her a 50-minute lecture on the properties and perils of mentals? No. Instead, I learned more about pharmacology than I ever cared to. Steady, I discovered, caused nerve damage if used too frequently. Med-X could cause the mind to experience phantom pains. Buck was damaging my joints and muscles and doing a number on my reproductive system. But the real monster, apparently, was Hydra.
Only unicorns can perform magical healing, and there are few who can perform the service. As a result, Pegasi and Earth ponies found a way to regenerate injuries using a hormonal extract of certain glands from hydras, hence the name. The harvesting is difficult enough, but the real peril is that the chemical suppresses normal recovery long after it wears off. Your body's natural healing processes fail, and you die cell by cell.
She looked scared.
One hydra is bad enough, but 2 or 3? You could drop dead on your hooves.
And that is not counting taking a stroll through some nice quiet e-fields,
interjected Rampage.
I've seen ponies liquefy from a combination of Hydra and a strong enough innovation field. Kinda cool to watch, actually,
she said brightly, grinning at the sick look Glory and I shared.
Oh, what? You think that's the worst way to die? No,
I muttered.
I've seen worse. Like what?
She asked with a mocking little smirk. I really wasn't in the mood for Reaper taunting. I looked at her flatly.
I fed a pony through a rock crusher once.
She blinked, looking speculative.
Tail first,
I added, and was rewarded with a small look of shock on her face. Now, her pink eyes looked skeptical.
It's true. It was the only way I could kill a pony monster called Gorgon.
Rampage stopped in her tracks, and I slid off her side and fell flat on my face.
You really killed Gorgon? At Brimstone's Fall,
I answered as I tried to get my hooves to support me.
He was trying to kill me. He'd taken over the mine and I had to take him out.
Her wording hit me.
How did you...
I nervously started to ask. Rampage gave me an even stare.
Gorgon was. I knew him.
I felt dread creep up my spine. If she decided to attack and avenge him, what could I do to stop it? My only chance was 3 magic bullets to the face, and even then I wasn't sure I could pull it off.
And he was a friend,
she added, and I almost switched to Sats right then. But instead of looking angry or upset, I couldn't tell what the expression was. Was it happiness?
Lucky bastard.
She bit the neck of my barding and hauled me to my hooves.
You aren't mad?
I asked.
Should I be?
She asked in return once I was standing. Glory looked at her, as confused and wary as me.
He was your friend,
she sighed.
There are worse things you could have done to him.
But who was he? What was he?
Glory asked.
My friend the monster,
was all she answered, and after a look at the scowl that accompanied it, I nudged Glory and shook my head. Rampage was not a safe pony to press right now, not till we knew more about her. She certainly wasn't the psychopath I'd envisioned, but that didn't mean she wasn't a psychopath I hadn't envisioned. We walked along together for a bit in welcome silence. We were entering a small valley where the Sunset Highway crossed over another road from Hoofington before heading off to the southwest towards Philadelphia. We'd been hit by raiders twice. Fortunately, I simply sat my butt down, floated the carbine over my head, and played gun turret while Rampage eagerly dismembered them. The white and red pony's serrated armor tore our attackers in half, and each kick of her hoof claws shredded hide and armor alike. Watching her moves, I realized 2 things. I did not want to fight her, and I appreciated just how tough Reapers had to be. Reapers, just like Deus.
Have you ever heard of somebody called Sanguine?
I asked as we finished looting the second band of raiders. I wasn't finding any links to the Enclave on them, but paranoia was nibbling at my mane.
Sure,
Rampage replied.
he's a unicorn ghoul. Real nutcase too. Drinks blood. Lots of business deals and a surprisingly snappy dresser. I used to be a doctor before the war, or so I heard.
She looked down at me with a smirk.
And no. Personally, I don't do much business with him. He works out of paradise, though. He's hoofing friggin' hoof with Ursuri. Is there any way I can get in contact with him? Why would you want to?
I lifted my pitbuck.
He wants a file on this. He sent Deus to my stable, and I'm pretty sure he's why Deus is after me. No. Having a vagina and having shot at him with artillery is why Deus is after you. But yeah, he works a lot with Sanguine.
She took a deep breath.
If you really want to hand over the file, he'd probably pay you and smooth things over with Deus and Ursuri. Maybe get you out of the hoof. But if he wants that file, it's because some pony else wants it. Some pony with a lot of pull in the hoof. I could only think of 2 or 3 with that kind of swing. No, 4 if you throw in the Enclave.
She added with a glance at Glory.
Big Daddy Reaper, Elder Crunchy Carrots, and King Awesome.
I couldn't have heard that right.
King Awesome?
And here I thought calling myself security was pretentious.
He's the head of the society,
Rampage said, and then snorted.
Hey, don't look at me. I didn't name him. And is he?
I asked with a wan grin.
Awesome, I mean.
Rampage shrugged.
The society's the biggest source of real food in the hoof. King also managed to get the plantations working, screwing over the eggheads in the process. They charge a premium, but food is food.
She glanced at me.
Of course, they use slaves to farm it.
Any affinity I had for Prince Splendid withered on the vine.
They what?
Rampage seemed amused by my anger.
Sure, you don't expect aristocrats to get their hooves dirty, do you? Until Red Eye came along, they were the premier slaveholders in the hoof. Heck, maybe in all of Equestria.
She frowned and rubbed her chin.
You know, I always wondered where Red Eye got the caps to pay for all those slaves he'd been funneling into Philadelphia.
She shrugged and looked at me again.
Anyway, the society prefers to call them serfs and servants. But it's one pony wearing an explosive collar and another pony with their hoof on the trigger. So it sounds like slaves to me.
Even feeling as lousy as I did, and with everything churning in my brain, I somehow managed some fresh, smouldering anger. It was refreshing to have something wrong to focus against. I might not be able to do anything right now, but it was something to think about. I added it to my mental things-to-do list, somewhere underneath survive and above save Equestria. We arrived. The town, filling most of the valley, had evidently once been a major suburb of Hoofington. Several 5- and 6-story buildings hunched sullenly together in the centre of the ruins like brooding mares. We passed by a sign that read, "Welcome to Flankfurt. Hope you like your stay." That warm greeting was marred by less charming messages like, Dash, 20% more fucked. Stella, fuck Caprice, 50 caps. Fried in 10 seconds flat, and die zebra die. There was a balefire crater to the north, but most of Flank appeared burned rather than blasted. A morass of ponds and muck lingered in and around the roofless remains of the houses, but I didn't see one strand of swamp grass. Nothing grew in Flank. Then I felt it. My heartbeat was becoming irregular, and I staggered, my hooves falling out from under me. Blood was trickling down my nose and out of my ears. Tears much too thick to be simple salt water ran down my cheeks. I couldn't seem to breathe as I fell flat on my face. "Blackjack! Blackjack, what's wrong?" Glory yelled as she turned me on my side.
Innovation, probably. Flank is full of E-fields,
Rampage said in mild irritation.
Guess the Hydra weakened her body enough that she's crashing.
Do something,
Glory said as she looked up at the Reaper.
please.
Rampage rolled her eyes and gave a dismissive snort, grabbed me, and dragged me several feet back. My heartbeat steadied as I lay there. Now, more than ever, I suddenly realized just how fucked up I was. I could have died. I could have liquefied. It finally happened. I was afraid of dying. Not of dying personally. That was sort of a, well, it would suck if I did kind of concern. No. It was thinking about not resolving things with P21. It was wondering what would happen to Glory if I died. Thinking of that, for the first time ever, I realised I was scared shitless that I'd kick it and leave them to go on without me. I was such a stupid pony that I had to bleed from my tear ducts before I could see that. I don't know what Glory was doing, injecting me with the very chems that had deteriorated my body, I supposed. She gave me a healing potion that tasted like ass, but I couldn't even throw it up.
We have to get her to Flank's doctor now,
Glory said desperately as she looked down the highway at the distant gates. It was at least a mile or two, maybe more.
Give her some dash,
Rampage said as she eyed the ruins around us.
Oh, pop another Mintal,
Glory snapped back.
She's this close to dying anyway,
Rampage said as she took out the tin and licked up one of the tablets, chewing.
If she can make the run, maybe Scalpel can get her in the autodoc fast enough to do something. Otherwise, she's a corpse.
She frowned.
And in case you missed it, we got scavengers coming.
I saw them creeping out of the burned out ruins, naked and emaciated, or wearing the thinnest rags, bloodshot and yellowed eyes, slat-sided ponies, poor and desperate, crept slowly closer and closer. They all looked just as wrecked as I was, but there were a lot more of them than of me.
Give it to me,
I wheezed.
Oh, dear Luna, I cannot believe I'm doing this.
Glory groaned and took out a red cartridge with a mouth tube attached. She put it to my lips.
Breathe in as deeply as you can,
she muttered as her hooves compressed the cartridge, and I felt a hot, stinging gas fill my lungs. Funny, I didn't really notice much difference. What was the big deal? I stood up and shook myself off as I grinned at all the gaunt ponies starting to surround us. They were all staring at me, which made sense. I'm security. The badass. The mayor with the 300,000 cap bounty. In one puff, I'd gone from dying to amazing in 10 seconds flat. Glory just looked at me like she was going to cry. Why? I felt great. I felt great. I was great. I think I just felt an orgasm, yeah.
Hey, Blackjack, I bet you can't beat me to the gates.
Rampage taunted as she started to run. Oh, Miss Reaper thought she could beat me? Nothing could beat me. I could fly right now. And I was going to prove it as I started to run. I was so badass I was drooling. Yeah, badass. As we ran, I felt all sickly. But freaky magical fields can't touch Blackjack. Every pony at the gates of Flank was staring and stepping aside. You bet they would. Because Blackjack was in town. Look out, Flank. I'm bringing the gun, and the fun, and the funtastica. I didn't even know what that word meant, but I was bringing it. Because I am Blackjack, the security mayor. Oh, yeah.
We're walking,
Rampage said as she walked ahead of me. Oh, Miss Armored Pony thought she was going to win? No way. Because I am Blackjack, made of awesome. Bleeding awesome. Yeah, I couldn't really pay much attention because my eyes weren't working. That's because I got freaky mutant eyes. Because I'm cool. And stuff. It was kind of getting hard to walk. Rampage bit me by the neck of my barding and dragged me the last few feet into a building that smelled of blood. And piss. And shit. And blood. Oh, that must be me. Because I smell awesome. Once inside, she dropped me to the floor.
Mum!
Rampage roared.
Warm up the autodoc, now!
It looked like some sort of doctor's office. Like medical, back in 99. A long counter ran across the middle of the room, and 4 armoured guards were rising to their hooves. Rampage? An older lavender unicorn poked her head into the foyer and looked at me through thick, black-framed glasses. She wore a profound expression of disappointment. Her white lab coat was smeared with numerous stains. Oh, not another one, Rampage. I can't keep treating every poor thing you bring in.
Just give it some dash and let it die in peace.
It's security, Mum,
Rampage said, and everything began to tumble away.
and I think her heart has stopped.
So, who could name the 6 ministries established by Princess Luna to combat zebra aggression and save Equestria? Our teacher, Textbook, asked, as she looked over all the attentive fillies and colts as we sat together in Stable 99's classroom. The projector showed cartoony pictures of 6 mares arranged around Princess Luna. A grey circle looped around them. The red mare lowered her glasses. Blue? The young blue colt sitting ahead of me cleared his throat as he stood.
The 6 ministries were awesome, arcane sciences, wartime technology, image, morale, and peace.
Very good, Blue. She praised the young colt.
Wasn't there a 7th ministry?
Daisy asked, the shy little earth pony jumping when a colt glanced her way. That's a good question, Textbook said as she changed the next slide. A flowchart. There certainly was more to Equestria than just the ministries, though they did revolutionize Equestria in a very short time. There was Luna's government, which was responsible for enforcing Luna's decrees and laws with the common pony. There was the military, which operated independently of the ministries, but worked with all of them. There were also private businesses, many of which worked with the ministries. I kept dozing off, and my eyes were drawn to the gaps between the bubbles on the flowchart. So, can you tell me the responsibilities of the OIA, Go Fish? Textbook asked. I shot upright in my seat and shouted,
Blackjack! My name is Blackjack!
Giggles filled the classroom. Blue looked back at me with a warm smile. He was my best friend, and the sound of cards being shuffled filled the room like static. Everything turned grey and fuzzy. When focus returned, the colts were gone, as were all the bright colours. Everything was now mixed with grey. Daisy smirked back at me. She was my best friend, if that was what a friend was. Duct tape cringed from the snide smirk of Marmalade. Only Rivets didn't put up with our shit. Textbook no longer smiled, instead talking with the apathetic boredom that came with rote instruction. Go Fish, Blackjack, whatever.
The OIA? I don't think this was in the book, teacher.
I protested. Nevertheless, it's something you should know, she said with a bored, disinterested sigh. So, can you answer? Oh, never mind. I snorted as I folded my hooves on the desk and rested my chin atop them. Who cared who some dumb OIA was anyway? The ministries were the ones who ran Equestria, and Luna. They were all blown up centuries ago. I raised my hoof.
Teacher, I need to take a leak.
Uh-huh. She waved her hoof at me, and I stepped out of my desk and trotted to the door. I was in security. It didn't matter if I knew history, just so long as I could shoot a gun or swing a baton. Outside the classroom, the colours were bright and cheery. Stallions and mares talked as they strolled along, discussing their jobs and what was needed in the stable. Blue sat outside the classroom, the young colt listening in.
Oh, hey,
he began when he caught my look and gave me a sheepish grin.
Blackjack, much better name. Hey, Blue, I had to get out of there.
I smiled brightly at him.
Say, wanna sneak down to maintenance? I can help you with your reading and we can...
The purr of cards plunged the world into grey hues. Mares walked along in isolation and talked in low, soft voices. The colt cowered behind metal crates, listening in.
Take you back to medical. You're not supposed to be out here. You're a colt.
Please, he stammered. I was just listening.
You're a colt. That means you have to stay with colts until a filly wants you.
Why a filly would ever want a colt for anything was beyond me. Colts didn't actually do anything in the stable. They didn't work. They didn't study. They just ate food and did whatever it was they did. I don't want to go back, he said quietly as he peeked through the crack at the teacher droning on and on about how wonderful the ministries were.
Can't I listen? I want to find out about all this stuff.
No, you're a boy. You should go to boys' school. This is a school for fillies.
I said and stomped my hoof.
Anyway, I'm in security, so I got to take you back. That's what Mama would want.
I kicked his flank.
Now march.
A flicker of colour. Maybe I was going to kiss his boo-boo. Maybe I was going to ask him his name. But the purr of the shuffling cards kept all the colours dull. We got to medical, and instantly the colours returned. The nurses and doctor were very thankful to me for finding blue, and gave each of us a peppermint stick. I watched as he was escorted through to the Colt school, where 24 foals and Colt sat in desks, listening to a much better lesson on rainbows, and why rainbows were awesome. I wanted to ask if I could be allowed to stay, even if I was a filly. A sigh. A shuffle of the cards. The colours drained away. There was no school, no rainbows, no lesson. Just rows and rows of bunk beds, on which curled the colts of Stable 99. Their toys were broken things that fillies didn't want anymore. They were also small. Such a little space to live in. The nurses kicked him back into the room, demanding to know how he'd gotten out. The head doctor scowled at me and suggested I go back to class. Then Big Macintosh strode in through the doors with all the marauders in a burst of pure awesome. "All right, we're shutting you down. This has gone on long enough."
May Celestia forgive you for what you have done here,
Sam intoned gravely. Fluttershy flew in and guided the colts out, with Pinkie Pie giving them all a cake, and Rainbow Dash making them grin just by being Rainbow Dash. A sigh. A shuffle. Macintosh's marauders were long gone. Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and Rainbow Dash too. Everything that had once been glorious and good and bright was just a dream. No pony stopped the screams coming from the colt as he was shocked again and again as they demanded he tell them how he'd escaped. So, still not dead. I was lying on a bed next to a machine full of strange glowing tubes, jars of fluid, and glowing magical gems. I felt better. Not like I had after Priest had finished with me, but definitely better. My legs were only a little twitchy. My heartbeat had dropped to rates below running for my life. I had a brand new pair of puckered scars, one to the left of the middle of my chest, and the other halfway down my left side. Entry and exit wounds for a beam of energy. The dingy room had a glass-fronted cabinet full of chems. I looked at the red dash inhalers with surprising longing, remembering just how great I'd felt. Still, if it wouldn't help me with glory, I didn't care. The injectors of Stampede were a much larger draw. "Don't even think about it," the middle-aged lavender pony said gruffly as she walked in, her tired purple eyes watching me sharply. "I've developed a sixth sense for when a patient is up and eyeing my stocks." Her mane had gone prematurely white. I could still see hints of purple. A pair of crossed scalpels decorated her flank. "You're lucky. If it hadn't have been for that friend of yours, I wouldn't have even bothered. She knows how to use an auto-dock as well as I do. In case introductions weren't made while you were choking on your own bloody froth. I'm Scalpel."
Blackjack.
I replied, trying not to eye the chems.
Sorry about that nearly dying thing. Thanks for patching me up.
"Oh, you're not out of the woods yet," she replied as she walked over to the auto-dock. "This is a machine that, with enough time, skill, and healing magic, can restore almost every injury. It can analyze, diagnose, repair, and regenerate, just short of a mega spell super restoration. There's only two things it can't cure or heal. One's death, the other's taint," she said as she worked the controls and a cartoon image of a frowning pony appeared on the machine's screen. There were all kinds of cute icons showing bloody lungs, a leaking heart, black guts, and broken bones.
And since I'm not dead,
I said, closing my eyes.
Let me guess.
Scalpel said with a little sigh. Sometime in the last few days you were exposed to it. I already checked your friend and she's clean. She added at once as I opened my mouth, then closed it again. If it hadn't have been for the taint, I think you probably would have pulled through on your own, at least well enough to reach here without your heart exploding. That taint interacted with the chems, making for a doozy of a mess. You're going to need at least 2 more treatments to reverse most of the damage.
Radiation, innovation, and now taint. Is there any other mysterious and lethal aspect of Hoofington I should know about? Ghosts, maybe? Death beams from the clouds?
I said as I rubbed my head between my hooves. I'd read the entry on taint in the Wasteland survival guide. No pony knew what it was, or what caused it. But if it got inside you, then it would slowly mutate and corrupt your mind and body. A lot of the wildlife had been horribly mutated by just a little of it. Knowing my luck, I'd gotten a lot more than a little.
So, am I gonna go tentacles? A third eye? A penis? Eye tentacle penises?
Probably not. There's no surefire way to measure just how much you were exposed to. She pointed at the display with her hoof. Major trauma to the heart, some damage to your lungs, your brain. Who knows? She looked at me with a little tilt of her head. You seem to be taking this pretty well, all things considered. I laughed. I couldn't help it.
I've got a doozy of a bounty on my head. I've got the Reaper Deus after me. My one friend thinks I'm a drug fiend, and my other...
I felt the shake starting and took a deep breath.
I don't suppose you moonlight as a therapist, do you?
She sighed and lifted her scratched glasses off the end of her muzzle. Well, I am charging you 30 times my normal price, so I'm probably in the therapist ballpark. What's on your mind? I took a deep breath, wondering how I could admit it.
I raped some pony.
There. I said it. Just like that. I'd expected I'd have to fight it, choke it out, dance around the confession. Instead, it slipped out of me as easily as bleeding.
I raped a stallion in my stable.
She looked at me oddly. Okay. And? And? What the fuck did she mean, and?
And it was fucking wrong!
She just sat on her haunches, looking at me as if mildly baffled. Huh. Well, that's novel.
What is?
Guilt, she replied, as she walked over to the locker and lifted a key from her pocket. She brought out a bottle of wild Pegasus and 2 shot glasses. Locking the door again, she trotted to a little table beside the auto dock. It's a pretty rare condition in the Wastelands. Results from either an overabundance of morality or getting kicked in the head too often, she said quietly as she poured 2 shots. I looked at the nearest shot skeptically, licking my lips.
You're treating me for chem damage. Are you really supposed to be giving me alcohol?
I could drink both if you'd prefer, she asked with a lazy smile as she lifted a shot.
Well, I don't want my doctor too drunk,
I rationalized, and I took my shot with glee. She chuckled. Oh, trust me, it'd take far more than 2 little shots to get me drunk, she said, smiling mirthlessly as she looked at me. In the great hierarchy of the shit messed up in your life, the booze is pretty low. She downed her own drink, gave a shiver, and smiled. If you're feeling guilty about this rape you did, then there's a reason for it.
Because it was wrong,
I muttered. Why? She asked, and she was still smiling.
What do you mean, why? Are you telling me rape is okay?
Considering the number of mares I've treated over the years, apparently, she said with a small shrug. I've heard males brag about raping mares. Mares brag about seducing stallions. Stallions crowing about buggering colts and fillies laughing about breaking fillies. You say it's wrong and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm asking you why. I clenched my eyes shut.
Because I wouldn't want that to happen to me. If our places had been swapped, then I don't think I would have survived.
Oh, well, that's the easy bullshit answer, she said as she poured 2 more shots. Do unto others as I'd have them do unto me. Till you have to kill. Till you kill some pony who deserves it. Till you fuck some pony that doesn't want it. Take what isn't yours. If I accept that other people will rape me, does that make it okay and right for me to rape others? She put the cap on the bottle. Was that true? It was, but only up to a point. If I was okay with some pony putting me down, like for me to kill every pony I wanted, no.
He's my friend. Though I can't be sure of that anymore.
So when he wasn't your friend, it was sex. But when you cared about him, suddenly it was rape? Simple solution. Shoot him in the leg, and it'll be sex again. Scalpel said with a chuckle as she took off her glasses and rubbed a hoof across her bloodshot eyes. That's an even lamer excuse than the previous one. Why is this a problem for you, Blackjack?
Because I want to be good, alright?
I yelled at her, glad I'd recovered enough to shout.
I don't want to be fucked up. Everything is fucked up. You're fucked up. Everything I see is one pile of shit after the other, and it's looking more and more like the only way to be good is to die.
I shouted at her, knocking the shot glasses and bottle of whiskey away with a sweep of my hoof.
I'm sick of seeing everything fucked up and wrong. I was happy when I didn't have a clue about how fucked up the world is. That I was making it more fucked up. That I'm still fucking it up even after all the shit I've gone through.
I said as I sat back down.
I raped P21 and didn't even realize it was wrong. I couldn't save Glory from fuckers I knew were bad news. And it seems like the only way for any pony to survive is to become like Deus and kill every pony and any pony that they want.
Shit. Here I was, crying again. My stupid, tainted brain and wicked, tainted heart throbbed as I lay down on the ground, hiding my face under my hooves. There. I'd finally thought about it. The Wasteland was fucked up. And so was I. Strip away my good intentions, and I was just as sick as the raiders and slavers I'd killed. Was it too much to simply want to be good? I want to be good too, Scalpel said quietly. I peeked up at her tired smile and sad eyes. Some days more than others. Month after month I see ponies chewed up by addiction, injury or hopelessness, more than any other part of Equestria. I deliver stillborn foals because their mothers can't get out of the innovation fields. I try to keep dash addicts from huffing Brahmin dung because of the act of living hurts. I sew them up, seal their hurts, numb their pain, and send them back out into this fucked up world. And I'm usually the last one who sees them before they kick it. And damn me, I still care. Even knowing they're destroying their lives. Because I can. Because I don't want to be another heartless doctor handing out healing like I'm an auto-doc. Because that's the only difference between me and the fuckers that cause the hurt. I care. And caring hurts, no matter how you fucking slice it. Blackjack? Glory said from the doorway. I stared at her in horror and saw the expression mirrored back at me. I clenched my eyes shut, feeling the shakes start. Is what you said... Did you really? She asked in a tiny voice. I'd been so focused on Scalpel that I hadn't heard the door open.
Yes!
I said, unable to look at her.
Stable 99 is nothing more than just one great big rape factory. And I was a part of it. I didn't know better. I should have. I'm sorry, Glory.
And now she knew who I really was. I wasn't strong. I wasn't good. I certainly wasn't smart. And if she had sense at all, she'd leave me before I did the same or worse to her. Trying and wanting to be good wasn't enough. Blackjack, she started as I shook more and more. How?
Because I'm not a good pony. So just leave, Glory. Staying with me cost you your cutie mark. It's just going to cost you more and more.
And now I was tainted too. Contaminated. Would it drive me crazy, like the Raider sickness? Twist my body till I was grotesque and mutated beyond recognition? I suddenly had an image of Gorgon. Would that be me, eventually? Would Glory someday smile when she heard I'd been fed through a rock crusher?
Just go and find some pony better than...
Then I felt her hooves gently reach around me and hold me as she pressed her face underneath my jaw. I couldn't move, I could only shake as I returned the gesture.
I've spent my whole life working for ponies that betrayed me and branded me a traitor. For all I know, I could have helped them with their plans against the surface and not had a clue.
She whispered softly.
I think about every raider we've run across and wonder, did I have a part in that? No matter how remote that possibility may be, I still can't help but think that I'm to blame. You are a good pony, Blackjack. You keep trying and you never give up, no matter what you have to do.
I fell apart at that point, and Glory did too. I think we both needed to just give in a little and hurt. Because caring hurts, no matter how you slice it. Two hours later, I was back in the auto-dock frame. Scalpel's horn glowed as the machine whirred and chirped and did whatever it did to put me back together again. There were tubes of nasty grey, maroon, and yellow feeding into collection jars as she tried to remove as much damaged tissue, and hopefully the taint along with it, as possible. I spent most of the time explaining the fine nuances of Stable 99's fucked up society to Glory. Glory listened as she fiddled with Leo's broken beam rifle. I personally thought it was a lost cause, but right now, I wasn't going to begrudge her. Still, just standing here was boring. I certainly didn't want to pay attention to what was being removed from me by the auto-dock.
Glory, could you come here and play an audio file on my pitbuck?
I glanced at Scalpel, who returned the look with an indifferent shrug. Glory trotted over and sat down. With my limb restrained by the auto-dock, she had to operate my pitbuck for me.
Which one?
P21's auto files. You need BJ number 3.
I sighed as I looked at her.
I might as well. It's not like it can get any worse than raping him and neglecting him, right?
Glory gave me a troubled look. Yes, I was going to keep beating myself up with that until we resolved things with P21. She worked the controls deftly, and then there was a crackle.
We're safe here, U20. They can't track us down here. A security mare told me so.
P21's voice was soft and rushed, panting desperately.
P17, we can't stay down here forever. This is a stable. There's nowhere we can go. Eventually they'll come down here and check all the places they can't track.
Soft noises of nuzzlings and quiet little sobs.
You stay here then. I'll find whoever's going to be the next U1 and kill them. I just need a little more time.
P21 said desperately.
I've got a mare teaching me how to access the Overmare's terminals and get her override commands. We can sneak out together.
No, P17, no. You're not going to kill a colt for me.
I've done it before.
P21 whispered.
You've done it before.
And you'll never do it again. Even if I have to turn myself in right now.
The soft voice of U20 said firmly, bringing more tears from P21.
Us killing our own is what the mares want. Takes the blood off their hooves and puts it on ours.
I love you. I don't want to lose you.
P21 whispered.
You knew you would.
U20 said quietly. Soft noises of kisses and quiet, strangled sobs. Then I heard my voice echoing in the tunnels.
They've got to be down here. Somewhere near the spark generators, I think.
See? That didn't take them long.
U20's voice was quiet and resigned.
You stay here. Keep out of sight. They just want me.
No. Please, no.
P21 sobbed.
I think I hear them.
I said, then a pause.
There you are. U20. As per Stable 99's bylaws, you are required to come with me to security for your removal from the unicorn breeding population.
I'd never realised how bored I sounded when telling a pony they were about to die.
I understand. I'm ready.
U20 said.
No!
Yelled P21. A thump, and then the sharp crack of a baton striking skull.
What the heck has gotten into you, P17?
A thump. Another thump. I could hear my heart rate increase on the auto-dock monitor.
Please, stop!
Yelled U20. Then there was the sound of a shove. Another sharp crack. Deeper. Wetter. A yell from me and another crack. And another. And another. Another. And then the thud of a body hitting the floor and the concrete tunnel. Another. Another. and then a sickening quiet, punctuated by P21 sobbing brokenly as I cursed about crazy, stupid males.
Don't cry.
I heard U20's softest whisper. It could only have been caught if P21's microphone had been at his mouth by cradling his head.
I love you. I love you.
More hooves echoing in the tunnel.
Whoa, Blackjack! Is he dead?
Daisy's voice, sounding impressed. I wanted to puke.
Yeah, I think so. Fuck, I'm gonna get in so much trouble for breaking procedure.
You okay? Going to off the blue one too? Can I watch?
I already fucked up once today. I'm not going to make it twice. Can you girls hold the body up to security? Go through the motions?
Yeah, sure. Come on, Marmalade. Lift your end.
The sound of a dead unicorn being hefted onto Daisy's back followed, and then hoof steps receding. P21 wept with horrified little sobs.
So here's the plan, P17. We're going to go to medical and they can give you a shot to calm the fuck down or something. Okay? Okay.
Kill me.
P21 said between shaky, gasping breaths.
What was that?
Kill me. Right the fuck now, or I swear by Celestia and Luna, I will end you.
Right, you're upset. I can see that. Males are always so over-emotional. But those are the rules. Take it up with the Overmare if you want, but I am not your executioner.
Why?
He broke down sobbing again.
Why kill him and not me?
That was an accident.
Yeah, my baton accidentally beat him to death.
Not that! You're going to kill me anyway in a few months, a year at the most, so get it over with!
I can't. It'd be wrong.
The sounds of me making him stand.
Come on, don't think about it.
The tape cut out. I mean that if I have a weapon, I might kill you. Not because I was a mare, but because I murdered the stallion he'd loved. Do you know what fucking justice is? It is giving to others as is given to you. I'd remembered that. Tracking down U20. He was a good male. Give you a rutting and then you could talk and he'd listen and nod like he'd really cared. I'd been honestly bummed that he was being taken out of rotation. Only he'd disappeared from tracking. That had been unusual, since most males never went down to maintenance. So how could he know where the tracking was scrambled? But I knew. I knew all the spots, and I'd found him together with a blue earth pony that was only barely familiar. He'd been upset, and I'd assumed it was normal male hysteria. He'd attacked me with my guard down, and I'd used my baton. I admit, I was a little panicked. I'd never been attacked by a male pony before. U20 had come to his rescue, shoving me away with his magic. I'd thought they were both going to attack me. I beat him to death. At the time, I thought I'd caught hell. Double work shifts, my position on the breeding queue was revoked, I was even under lockdown for a month. But the rule of 99 was, don't think about it, and eventually everything went back to normal. I felt strangely calm. My limbs weren't shaking. My heart was beating steadily.
Blackjack?
Glory asked as she looked up at me.
Are you okay?
Yeah, sure. Don't worry about it.
I wasn't, because I knew exactly what I needed to do. I needed to give P21 a gun.
End of Chapter 15, Part 1. Music time, folks. Here's the Wasteland Wailers with Friendship from Fire. Enjoy, people!
Was a